子是不是有病？你脑子是有病吧？
Recently, a Chinese woman forced a flight to stop at Singapore's airport due to her urgent need to use a restroom. News of this incident shook Chinese social media. Netizens humorously remarked, "Aunties will never disappoint you. There's always a new twist." On February 6, Singapore airline flight SQ826 bound for Shanghai was already taxiing on the runway and about to take off when a Chinese female passenger suddenly insisted on using the restroom. The flight attendants patiently explained that the plane was about to take off and the restrooms was temporarily unavailable for safety reasons, asking her to wait for a little longer. However, the passenger refused to listen, loudly arguing and even insulting the crew while kicking the cabin door. For the safety of the flight, the crew had no choice but to return to the gate. Her actions caused strong dissatisfaction among other passengers. When a fellow Chinese passenger tried to stop her, calling her behavior selfish and embarrassing, the woman responded defiantly, saying, "I'm embarrassing? I've been embarrassing every day. Did I stop the flight? The captain made that decision. So you have to work tomorrow? Why should I care? If you have money, get off and take a private jet." Ultimately, the woman was escorted off the flight and handed over to Singapore Changi Airport authorities. The flight was delayed by nearly 2 hours. Netizens commented, "This Chinese auntie is setting new records. I need to pee. Can stop a plane. Now that's real hardcore action." Others noted, "Her logic is unbelievable. The captain stopped the flight, not me. That's the art of shifting blame." Indeed, as one netizen predicted, the passenger has been taken by Singapore police for investigation. According to Singaporean law, she could face imprisonment and a hefty fine. Singapore Airlines stated that it does not tolerate any form of disruptive or abusive behavior. The netizen also referenced the case of Chinese influencer Han Feiji, who caused a stir by arguing with Singapore police. Han, claiming to have been injured by a car in Singapore, went to a public hospital for treatment. After waiting 3 hours, she verbally attacked a nurse, prompting the nurse to call the police. Upon their arrival, Han refused to cooperate with the investigation, swore at an officer in Mandarin, filmed a video, and attempted to grab the investigators' credentials. She even threatened to bring all of Singapore police to deal with her accident. Eventually, Han was charged with 8 offences, including public nuisance and violations of anti-harassment laws, and was sentenced to 40 days in prison and a 600 Singapore dollar fine. Han posted the video online expecting sympathy, but was met with criticism. No action, no consequences, and this is what happens when you're used to being arrogant at home and think others will serve you abroad. In recent years, as more Chinese people travel abroad, many incidents of uncivilized behavior have surfaced online. One recent video that went viral shows a Shanghai auntie verbally attacking a Taiwanese person on a bus. In the footage, the woman demands a seat, and when she is offered one, she continues to berate the other person with offensive language, claiming, "I'm from Shanghai, I'm tough. I own property in Shanghai. Your place can't compare. I have a Shanghai passport. I even have a Taiwanese passport. Makes you angry, doesn't it?" Netizens expressed their frustration, with one commenting, "If Shanghai people are so superior, why get Taiwanese citizenship?" Another commented, "Hey auntie, Taiwan's GDP is higher than Shanghai's, you know? Stop thinking the whole world is rural except for Shanghai." Others criticize a sense of superiority some Shanghai and Beijing residents feel, thinking they're above others and using it as an excuse to act rudely in public. A recent viral video from Beijing shows a woman causing a scene on a green train between Datong and Shanghai. Green trains are slower and older trains used by China during the Cold War. The woman, accompanied by her nanny, occupied the seats of 2 students and refused to vacate. At the same time, she was verbally attacking the students. When the train conductor intervened and asked her to move, she initially claimed her phone had been stolen and refused to cooperate. After the conductor called her phone, which was found in her bag, she changed her story, saying the thief had returned the phone. She insulted the conductor, calling him disgusting and poor while bragging about her expensive coat. When asked to move, she aggressively pointed at the conductor and threw her phone at him, shocking the other passengers. She then threatened to harm herself, taking a pair of scissors out of her bag, yelling that she would cut her wrists. 4 conductors eventually subdued her and she was taken away, still shouting threats. Passengers applauded her as she was escorted off. Netizens mocked her, saying a coat costing 2,000 yuan doesn't make you a lady. And riding a green train? How embarrassing. Another video shows a Chinese auntie in Wenzhou, Zhejiang repeatedly pouring water from an upper floor onto a milk tea shop below, disrupting business and attracting a crowd. Despite being filmed by onlookers, she remained unfazed. One netizen angrily commented, her actions made people who weren't even planning to buy milk tea go ahead and buy it. Why escalate things like this? Young people are already having a hard time. We all need to be kinder. Recently, another incident has gone viral across the internet. A blogger shared that a group of Chinese tourists at a Saudi Arabian airport, frustrated by a flight delay, decided to organize a protest. The group stood together and loudly shouted, "Go back to China." This left onlookers stunned. The blogger speculated that the tourists likely meant to express their desire to return to China, but their poor English led them to say, "Go back to China" instead. This confusion probably left the foreigners wondering who exactly was being told to go back. Netizens commented, lack of education is truly scary, too harsh, even insulting themselves. Obviously they're not embarrassed, it's the others watching them who are embarrassed. Another bizarre event drew attention when a group of tourists printed their portraits on their luggage and proudly displayed it, leading to laughter from passerbys. One netizen joked, "Wow, now even luggage is embarrassing." In another awkward situation, a Chinese professor tried to take a photo with a royal guard, but his actions angered the guard. Let's talk about an even more hilariously shocking incident. During the Chinese New Year, a woman at the Nanshan Si Guanyin Scenic Area in Shanya, Hainan was caught stealing money meant for blessings. As she walked by, she scooped the money into her pockets but was stopped by security. Earlier at Sichuan's Leishan Giant Buddha site, two female tourists used sticks to fish for money from the wishing pool, specifically targeting large notes. Other tourists nearby shouted, "That's quite uncivilized," but the woman ignored them and walked away with the money. The female vlogger who posted this video up was visibly frustrated. However, she was shocked by some of the comments beneath her video defending the woman. Some netizens claimed that the money didn't belong to anyone and should be used for those in need. "It looks like the Buddha agrees with it too," they said. The vlogger angrily responded, "This is clearly stealing." The sign clearly states that the donations are for the scenic area management. Stop using Buddha to justify breaking the law. Next, let's take a look at the ongoing behavior of the Auntie group. Wherever they go, the primary action is grab. As soon as stores or restaurants open, these women rush in like soldiers, grabbing food, products, and fighting if they can't get what they want. If needed, they even throw water or milk on others. A few years ago, they forced the luxury cruise ship Norwegian Joy to leave the Chinese market, and recently they made a Japanese toy store shut down after the police were called. Following their eating and shopping sprees, let's talk about their main activity, territorial grabs. In order to maintain their energy for these battles, many Chinese women regularly engage in square dancing. Whether it's in parks, basketball courts, parking lots, or even busy streets, wherever they set their sights, it becomes their territory. If it's a basketball court, they just push the hoops away. In parking lots, they'll cut parking lines or even deflate tires if someone insists on parking. If they don't listen, these powerful women might even push the car away themselves. It's not just the women. Chinese elderly men also show off their strength. One such man pushed a person off a bridge, leading to a tragic incident. In Guangzhou, a construction worker named Chen Fuchao, angry over 400,000 yuan unpaid wages, climbed a 9-meter tall bridge to draw attention to his situation. The scene quickly attracted a crowd blocking traffic. An elderly woman shouted angrily, "This river doesn't even have a cover. If you're going to jump, just do it already. Stop wasting time." As soon as she finished speaking, an elderly man swiftly climbed the bridge and approached the man. The man thought the elderly man was there to help, but what happened next left all onlookers in shock. The elderly man, taking advantage of the man's distraction, suddenly pushed him off the bridge. The man fell into a safety net, suffering severe injuries, and was ultimately left with a severe disability. Afterwards, the man demanded 280,000 yuan in compensation, feeling that the elderly man had treated his life like a joke. The elderly man, however, defended his actions, saying, "I was maintaining public order and acting bravely in the face of danger." At the scene, some people even applauded the elderly man's action, but the majority of the crowd was outraged, blaming him for being so cruel, saying pushing someone like that, breaking their arm, is just too inhumane. One netizen commented he jumped to demand unpaid wages, but in the end he didn't get the money and now suffers a grade 9 disability. I heard he spent all his money on medical bills and his wife even divorced him. How tragic. The reckless and inconsiderate behavior of these elderly individuals have left the public feeling helpless and frustrated. However, as the saying goes, bad deeds will eventually be repaid. Those who ignore the rules will ultimately be harmed by their own actions. 1 year ago, a tragic incident in Sichuan Longxi River Fish Scale Dam serves as a stark reminder. Despite warnings from staff, 11 elderly women forcibly entered a restricted river area to film videos and perform square dancing on the water. As the water level suddenly rose, the women ignored the staff's warning and continued their activities. All 11 were swept away by the strong current. Only 4 survived. This tragic event has led the public to reflect, with one commenting, "If there had been more self-discipline and respect for life, this tragedy might have been prevented." Many lamented, "It's not that the elderly have become bad, but that bad people have simply grown old." The question remains, will this phenomenon fade with the generation, or will it persist? The reality is unsettling. The jungle law and wolf culture left over from the Cultural Revolution are gradually becoming survival strategies for some, those who are the most ruthless or aggressive dominant. This behavior passed down from one generation to the next is increasingly influencing young people today. In a recent video, an elderly woman is seen teaching a child how to use aggressive tactics to deal with someone they are arguing with, demonstrating that the ultimate trick is to lie down and throw a tantrum. On February 3rd, in a public square in Lingyi, Shandong, a woman in her senior years got into an argument with a female college student returning home for the holidays. During the dispute, the elderly woman suddenly collapsed onto the ground. The young woman, refusing to back down, also lay down to protest. The continuity of the Chinese civilization for over 5 millennia is not only due to historical treasures like the Great Wall and the Forbidden City, but also the deep moral and spiritual foundation passed down through generations. However, when jungle law becomes an accepted survival rule, the moral foundation of society becomes dangerously unstable. What is even more troubling is that these extreme events not only happening in urban areas but also common in rural regions. Trust between people is slowly disappearing, and the warmth and kindness that once existed are being replaced by suspicion and hostility. Elders no longer dare to help fallen children in fear of being scammed, and vice versa. Strangers become wary of one another, and even basic social interactions are conducted with extreme caution. A society lacking trust ultimately isolates its people, leaving them to live in a cold, indifferent world. As the kindness between people is replaced with hostility, and violence and conflict become the norm, those at the bottom of society already struggling with immense pressure may reach a breaking point. Once emotions spiral out of control, extreme events become inevitable, and in fact, they have been occurring frequently. In the 2 months from November 2024 to January 2025, approximately 40 extreme violent incidents were reported across China. One netizen reflected, "If this continues, it will truly prove that disasters are seeds everywhere waiting to sprout into new crises."